Fighting COVID-19 with Artificial Intelligence. 10 new projects just announced. I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Dr. David Cox, IBM Director of the MIT-IBM Watson AI Lab of IBM Research. Welcome back, David.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Remind us about the relationship between MIT and IBM Watson's AI Lab.
Yeah, so the MIT-IBM Watson AI Lab, it's a collaboration between MIT and IBM. IBM basically announced in 2017 that it would be committing close to $250 million over 10 years to work with MIT, to collaborate with MIT to chart the future bounds of what might be possible in AI and to use AI to solve hard problems that we and our customers are facing in the world.
You were just here a few weeks ago, and now MIT and IBM have a series of new announcements. Right? Start by explaining the reason behind these projects and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, so the last time I was here, those were better times. And since then, obviously, COVID-19 has really changed most things about how business operates and how we live our lives. And obviously, it's an enormous humanitarian issue. So we at the MIT-IBM Lab, it was clear to us that we shouldn't just sit by and continue as normal. So we put out a call to our community, a joint community across IBM Research and MIT, to give us their best ideas for how we can both deal with COVID-19 and also to deal with its aftermath. And then the result of that was a collection of 10 projects that we think where AI can make, change the game potentially and make a contribution to making the world a better place and better able to be resilient, in the face of COVID-19, potentially find new treatments both for this pandemic, but also potentially future challenges that we might face in this way. And we've been really thrilled by the level of excitement that the community has brought, and the level of new ideas and enthusiasm for solving hard problems the community has brought.
There are many projects, I think 10 in total, but if you could just tell us just about a few of those projects, that'd be great.
Yeah, so they're really, when you have a problem as big as a pandemic, there are actually many different parts of that. And we were thoughtful to try and span across many different potential time horizons and potential ways of tackling COVID-19 with AI. In some cases, projects that we were already doing, the project teams came to us and said, hey, we're still committed to the original goals of this project, but we think that what we're doing might be relevant for COVID-19. And is there a way we could, retarget our work? So for instance, we have a project where we're using AI to help design molecules. So, and in particular, proteins. So we had one project where we were working with a team at MIT, Benedetto Morelli and Marcus Buehler, together with IBM researchers, to design new silk variants on silk protein for making that you can spray onto fruit and make it last longer. And that's an interesting project, but it turns out that the same technologies that you use to be able to use AI to help you design new molecules, new proteins, are very much applicable to thinking about how could you design new molecules that could help prevent coronavirus infections, or that could help and target different sort of parts of the pathway that produces the disease. And so the very same technology that we're using for other purposes for designing molecules, using AI to design molecules, we can now use it to design molecules that might be relevant for COVID-19. Another area, project we have that we were already working on, was looking at, in an intensive care unit, how can you use AI to be a sort of co-pilot for a doctor so that they can get recommendations on what they should do, and they can also simulate, use AI to simulate into the future and ask, okay, well, if I do this treatment, what might I expect, 10 minutes from now, 30 minutes from now, an hour from now, in the condition of my patient? Of course, given the importance of intensive care units, ICUs, and ventilators in particular in the context of COVID-19 and treatment of COVID-19, this was kind of a no-brainer for us to take that same AI technology and ask, okay, specifically in the context of COVID-19, what can we do? How can we build these AI co-pilots that can help doctors do their work more effectively, both for this pandemic and for future pandemics? So those are some cases where we had projects that were directly addressing either treatments or prevention of COVID-19. But we also have projects that are asking, how do we deal with the larger systemic effects of COVID-19 on our economy? How do we use data to understand what's effective? We're all variously going through different kinds of lockdowns right now, but we don't really understand yet from the data what different kinds of interventions are effective in different cases. Or in cases where you have different populations, can we identify those populations or those individuals even who might be more vulnerable to COVID-19 infection? That's more of a systems level work. And we're working with Dimitris Bertsimas at MIT to ask, can we build AI tools that can help us with those kinds of data problems?
How might we be able to apply any of these learnings or technology after the pandemic has passed?
Well, unfortunately, I think there's a new realization that this is probably not going to be our last pandemic. So, as much as, of course, we hope that that it would be, we recognize that this is a new vulnerability that our civilization, our society has. So, everything we do is going to be valuable for that. But even more than that, understanding understanding our economy better, understanding biology better, understanding, whatever we design that might help as a therapeutic for coronavirus, that same technology can be repurposed for other diseases and other disorders. Everything we learn about supply chains. We have one project that we're working on with Anthony Sinsky and Stacy Springs on looking at the global supply chain for vaccines, because we know that when we do get to the point of having a vaccine, we're not just going to have, it's not going to be solved overnight. We're going to actually have a supply chain that can effectively produce that vaccine and then distribute it equitably around the world. Many of the core technologies in building that kind of supply chain resilience, yes, they're useful for coronavirus, but they're also broadly useful for everything in the post-COVID world. And I think that's really the crux of it. We're recognizing that the world is changing and that we are entering this era of post-COVID. Even after we beat this pandemic, everything is going to be a little bit different. And we're asking, how can AI be there to help? How can we build more robust, more resilient systems? How can we guard against future threats, whether they be pandemics or other kinds of threats? How do we build a society and a civilization that's just simply more adaptable and resilient?
Dr. David Cox, IBM Director of the MIT-IBM Watson AI Lab of IBM Research. If somebody wants to connect with you, David, maybe they want to find out more about these projects, how can they do that?
Yeah, you can come to our website at mitibm.mit.edu.
All right, thanks again for joining us. And if you want to find more of my interviews, you can do that right here or at tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.